in college football win totals. Carolina is 7.5 with Coach Belichick and GM Jordan, not spelled like Michael Jordan, the Carolina legend, the Bill Belichick's GM and chief of staff there down there now. 7.5 seems pretty high. And our good friend John Ewing over at BetMGM, I saw him tweet earlier today that at least at BetMGM, the largest number of tickets and the largest number of dollars have been wagered on North Carolina under 7.5. Yeah, how you feeling about the Tar Heels, Will?
The easiest opinion to have is to say this is going to be a disaster. We know everything that's going on off the field. I'm going to be a little contrarian and go with an over here and say it's still Bill Belichick. I know he's doing whatever he's doing in weird interviews and books. I get that, but it's still Bill Belichick against, pick your ACC coach. I think there's going to be a schematic advantage there. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't know the personnel well enough. We'll have to see. I think TCU's their first game late August, which is coming quickly. I'm going to be contrarian here, Sammy, and go over. I realize all of the cases for the under, but I'll still trust here in Belichick.
I've got him facing one NFL quarterback and two good teams. So why can't they get to 8 or 9?
Agreed.
And look, Belichick has dealt with a lot in his life. A lot of that obviously in New England, but if you can handle, the issues with all the suspensions for Brady, you could handle Gronk and him being in and out of the, locker room and being out partying. And I'm not even going to get into Aaron Hernandez and what that was like to manage, but it's nothing. Oh, I didn't actually. I got up to it and then I didn't. But there's nothing wrong with the players. Like the players have done nothing wrong. And I still think when you line up Bill Belichick against a 19 or 20-year-old quarterback, Geoff, he's going to win those battles more times than not. Look, I'm not saying 10 wins. Not going to say playoff, but if everybody is saying under, you're really going to bet against Belichick to defeat a bunch of college quarterbacks? I think that's a silly idea.
And that was one of the stronger angles with him in New England. What was that record that he had against like rookie quarterbacks or quarterbacks in their first throw? It was like
26-2 or something like that against first-year quarterbacks.
Look, we know that Belichick can coach, right? The issue in New England was he was bad on the personnel side. Right, like he just didn't bring in good offensive players over the years. Defensively was fine when the defense was healthy. They were good. They were top of the NFL. And now you look at offensively in North Carolina. I haven't done a deep dive of their depth chart, but I imagine that he's able to bring in some talent, a different type of talent acquisition, of course. But defensively, and just I think one thing too about college football, and we know it's about college sports, it's often the mistakes that define a game more than a team winning a game. And Belichick's teams just aren't going to make those mistakes.
More than good wins.
Correct. And Belichick's teams, I would imagine, now maybe year one's a little bit different, but they're not going to make those mistakes, right? Like the 12th man loophole that Dan Lanning found at Ohio State. Belichick's going to find those things. He's going to find the things in the rule book that he can try to get a leg up on. So I think just schematically and tactically, you're going to have a good team. The question becomes, again, talent, right? I don't know if his team is talented enough to win all those games. I would imagine year one, there'll be situations where games are close and we'll kind of a coin flip of whether they win or not. But Sammy's point at the beginning is really accurate, right? They just don't have a tough schedule. And a lot of times you look at a schedule, you say, who's the best quarterbacks? They don't play any of them. They're going to win more games than not.
And they did bring in some guys in the transfer portal to play quarterback, and that's why Michael Lombardi earns the big bucks down there. He's out there making the GM type decisions to build that roster. But I would lean with you guys here. I would lean over 7.5 here. I would not be racing to bet the under and think that this guy is going to fall flat on his face with the success he's had in the NFL. Obviously, some other big name teams are out there. I know, Sammy, you have a pretty strong opinion on Alabama this year.
I just don't think DeBoer is cut out for the SEC. And I've heard this. We've discussed this. It's one thing to have your team in place like he did at Washington and just coach them up. But when you want to thrive in the SEC, especially at Bama, you got to win recruiting. You got to get in the mud. You got to deal with Georgia and Ole Miss and LSU and all these powerhouses. And I'm being told that that's not his strength. You also have seen a big departure of talent over the last 2 off seasons. So this is not going to be, let's be very clear, this is not a Nick Saban Alabama team in terms of talent. Now, he can coach up these 3 and 4 stars, sure, but he doesn't have the cream of the crop anymore. I mean, guys are leaving left and right for Ohio State and Florida and schools like that. So this is a big year for him. And we talked a lot about it on Bet Sweats, the morning show on the BetMGM network, about how they were ready to call for his head after every loss last year. Feinbaum was on fire. I can't believe this man. You know, like they're ready to fire him after every loss. Imagine if they start out of the gate slow next year and you got the boosters demanding this improbable and impossible level for the next guy who replaces Nick Saban. It's not a fair shake for DeBoer. I would hate to be in his shoes. And I think you're going to see a lot of talent disparity where you're going to see slowly other teams in the SEC this year and next year are going to have better players than Alabama.
SEC opener at Georgia. They go to Auburn, go to South Carolina, open with Florida State, who I don't think is going to be very good. So I certainly can get on board your under 9.5. And I got a column up on foxsports.com that I just fired out a bunch of random teams that I like their season win total. We'll talk about a couple of them here. Anybody else hopping on board the Alabama under 9.5 with Sammy, or feel differently about that?
I don't have any opinion on that, but boy, last year you could have gotten, and we talked about this on the air, off the air, some real great numbers on these conference futures, just because the nature of college football now, NIL, the portal, the turnover, where we could think we know these rosters, these teams, these schedules. There's so much uncertainty where it makes for some real liability for the books to hang numbers here, to hang these real long numbers, especially one conference that was interesting is the Big 12, because Arizona was 75, 80 to 1, just top of my head. Colorado had a huge number. They almost got in that title game, which, that would have been nice. Utah at 10 to 1 to win the Big 12. That's a conference. Look, I haven't done my homework on all of these teams. I'll be ready to go here pretty soon here as the season gets closer. But Utah, to me, at 10 to 1 is interesting. And I don't know. Let's just get some clicks. Is Colorado 18 to 1 live? I know Dion and all of the stuff. He's had a habit his first 2 years at Colorado of overachieving. Say what you want about him. I know Sammy's not a big fan, but I'm a fan of Coach Prime. I think them at 18 to 1 is at least worth looking at here in the Big 12.
Well, wait, hold on. I mean, I like Utah, considering Cam Rising will be back and in the fold. I mean, we can't wait for that, right?
Pour one out for Cam Rising.
I have nothing.
Number one of the Bear Bets podcast.
Our favorite reporter still has him questionable for week 1, by the way, even though he retired.
This is nothing. I'll speak for the whole show here. This is nothing against Cam Rising. It's against the reporters that were covering Cam Rising.
Yeah.
What a joke that was.
Play. Ooh, he could play.
I think Geoff said it best, though. We had Rising info before anybody else, and we didn't win any of the bets.
No, it did not matter. It didn't, in either direction. He was playing. We bet on Utah. Utah didn't lost, or the other way around. He wasn't. The Oklahoma State game was the worst, where we got information like Monday he wasn't going to play, and then Oklahoma State just laid the fattest egg of the entire year. I'll tell you what, Utah's offensive line might be one of the best in the country this season. Their 2 tackles will probably be first-round picks. They have a guard who's they're going to be, I think, a legitimate team offensive. They have a new offense this year. They're going to incorporate some newer ways to play offense, which will be nice. And we know defensively Kyle Whittingham can coach that team. So I think there's value there on Utah to win the Big 12. I think that's the one conference out of all of them that has the most variance, right? I mean, the Big 10 feels like, Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. The ACC is probably the Clemson, Miami Bear. I mean, I don't. Who else are you going to wager on there? SEC is the same 3 or 4 teams. So it does feel like the Big 12 has the most, maybe up in the air, and you can find some value in those futures.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, one of the teams that's going to be really highly thought of in the Big 12 is Texas Tech. I mean, they've done a ton in the transfer portal, brought in a bunch of players, and same thing in the basketball program too. They are all in the pay for play era, and their win total is 8.5, and it's minus 115 at FanDuel. I'm not sure I'm looking to go over 8.5 with this team. Now, you look at their road games: Arizona State, Houston, Kansas State, Utah, West Virginia. They were 6-1 last year in 1-score games, so they were pretty fortunate with that road schedule and close game luck. I think Texas Tech's going to be a very trendy team this year to maybe win that league. I think they're going to be a bit of an underlay, and I think under 8.5 is probably a good way to go with the Red Raiders. You mentioned about the SEC. Like, I might be drinking a little bit of Kool-Aid here, and I might be looking for a little bit too far down the board, but I really like Auburn over 7.5 wins, and I just saw they're 35 to 1 to win the SEC. They gave games away last year against Oklahoma and Missouri. The offense struggled, but you bring in Jackson Arnold, you bring in Eric Singleton to the wide receiver room along with Cam Coleman, experienced deep offensive line. You got the automatic non-conference wins. You got to open with Baylor, who you can go to Waco and potentially win. The middle to late part of the SEC schedule is kind of manageable. I don't know. I'm pretty bullish on Auburn this year, over 7.5. So I know Sammy's down on Alabama. I'm up on Auburn. So of course, everyone in Tuscaloosa is going to hate us, and everybody on the prettiest little village on the plains is going to love us, right?
That's fine. We're here to be hated. Everybody hates us. They love us when we win. They hate us when we lose. That's the name of the game. I wanted to volley this team at people because I was talking to my buddies at the Superbook, and this quarterback, Lenora Sellers, is getting a lot of money for Heisman. Now, that doesn't mean that the team is going to win 10, 11 games. I'm reporting bets. That said, though, if you connect dots and people are betting Sellers, they're probably thinking South Carolina has a pretty good track to be a player in this conference. And if Alabama's down and if LSU is down and some of these other teams don't live up to the hype, is South Carolina at 25-1 the worst idea? We can shoot it down if we want. I'm just asking the question.
Geoff, I'll let you go first.
I mean, by the way, Sellers is now 8-1 to be the first pick in the draft. He was, I think, 3,500 like 2 weeks ago. So kind of wild how fast. A lot of the bigger conferences end up being won by the teams that have the most talent. Like it just comes down to that. I just don't know if South Carolina has the talent to win the conference. Now, look, their schedule, I'm looking at the schedule right now. It's not bad, right? At LSU to be hard. They got Bama at home. They go to Ole Miss. They go to A&M. That 3-game stretch, that Bama, really 4 games. It's a 5. Geez, LSU, Oklahoma, Bama, Ole Miss, A&M. It's just, and the end with Clemson. I know Clemson doesn't matter for the
opening with Virginia Tech's not going to be easy either.
I have trouble betting on the teams that just aren't as talented to win conferences. I mean, you have to have a lot of things go wrong for you to win. Now, the number, to Sammy's point, is probably better than you're going to get anytime this season, but that is my concern.
You mentioned the number 1 overall draft pick right there with Sellers, and we saw that a couple weeks back about how he went from 30 to 23, and now he's like 8 or 9. I wouldn't chase that at all. I wouldn't suggest a bet in this market because we know it's going to be a quarterback. I think we can wait on. The only thing I would say doing or not doing, I would not bet Arch Manning to go number 1 in the draft. I don't think he's leaving Texas. I think he's going to come back for another year. You look at what the family history is there with Eli and Peyton, that they don't need the money. He doesn't need to run off to the NFL. I wouldn't bet Arch to be the number 1 pick. I mean, now look, he could go out and throw however many yards and touchdowns. Texas could win the national title, and he would be completing 70% of his passes or whatever. But I don't know. I'm not thinking Arch runs out and he goes to the NFL next year, though. Will.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things here. You're tying up your money for basically a full calendar year for a bet that's probably not going to win. And the whole of these markets is just not great when you look at, and we talk about this all the time, Sammy, when there's no option, when it's a one-way market and just, hey, who's going to be the first pick in the draft? Well, you can bet the yes, but you can't bet the no. That should raise an antenna. Mm-hmm. So I'm not cutting in line to bet any of this stuff.
Yeah, that said, if we were to find out that Arch was going to declare, I would hammer it. Because if he does declare, Bear, he's going 1, right? Like, I don't think that's the debate. The debate is, does he come out or not? Which, ironically enough, is the same debate with Sellers. He doesn't have to come out. He's going to be a sophomore this year. Granted, a redshirt sophomore, but he doesn't have to come out either. No. That doesn't seem like it's a market I would bet anybody right now, especially the Mannings, I'm not betting Aller ever.
No, that's just ridiculous.
Not Manning, not Nussmeier, not Sellers, because you could probably get those prices in September or October. Why would I bet that in May? What you want to bet, like heading into a season, would be a guy like Sam Levitt or Miller Moss. Not to say that they're going to go, but if you can find the right long shot that has a great season, Bear, and you get a 40-1, guy goes down to 10-1. Now you got a good bet, win or lose. So
I bet on someone from Will's Little League team to go number 1 before I win.
Are we sure Manning's the real deal, by the way?
If
We're
Arch
not.
declares,
We're not.
We don't know. We just don't know.
Right.
We don't know. We don't
You're
know
right.
about Arch yet. We just
But
haven't seen him play enough.
They've got 5-star old linemen, 5-star receivers. You got Sark calling the shots.
Oh, yeah.
He's in a great situation.
Yeah.
And if everything goes to plan and if he declares he's higher than Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow when they were at their peak, because everybody's going to want to leap to take Manning number 1 if he declares.
Bear, how much did you pay to get the odds for the draft to include 2 Miami players, 9 and 10, an offensive lineman, 35-1 to be the first pick in the draft? How'd you work that out?
I mean, that's your guy Mirabal and Mario.
Man, I'll tell you what,
They feel really good about their offensive line this year. Like they feel really good about their offensive line. They feel really good about their running back room. We will see. Hopefully, Carson Beck will be healthy. I think they think he's going to be. But yeah, we're at enemies right now for Cantwell, the big offensive line. Looks like he's going to go to Georgia.
Has Miami gotten a coach?
Yeah, of course we got a coach.
Well, last year on text messages, you were very anti-Miami. Now all of a sudden we're back in there. The hope is back.
Jay Lucas, basketball coach.
There you go.
You were all in
200-1, by the way. 200-1, by the way, at MGM to win the NCAA title. To answer your initial question there, Sammy, I'm down on South Carolina. I'm under the win total on them this year.
I haven't made a single position. By the way, since we're talking about Mario, wasn't it you, Geoff? You're like, he's at Herbert, he's at Cam Ward. Like, he's got to take that next step with the quarterback. And I don't know where Carson Beck is going to go. I'm sure he's going to get mocked in the top 15 or top 20, maybe even lower as we get closer to draft season and hype season. But that offense was awesome last year. My question is, can Miami tackle this year? I don't know.
When the new coordinator will help. Their issue last year, they allowed like one of the highest rates in the country of any of the Power 4 teams of 20-yard plays. Hopefully, with Heatherman, the new defensive coordinator came in from Minnesota, they'll be a little more disciplined, and they'll be able to do that semi. But the other team in the state of South Carolina, I know you said you had no position on the Gamecocks, but you and I think are on opposite sides here with Clemson.
Oh, I'll have Clemson as a top 6 power rating team. Dabo finally put the Bible aside and realized he could hit the portal. Remember when Dabo used to say, we don't need guys that don't pick Clemson? And then he realized quite literally he needs other guys. What are you doing, Geoff? What is this? What are we cutting?
Scissors. I'm just letting you know. I'm just giving you a preview.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, keep going.
I think Dabo is going to have a much better offense this year behind a quarterback I'm high on. I think that's our big debate, Bear. Do you like Klubnik? Do you not?
I do.
I'm high on the kid, and I think power rating wise, they're going to be a top 6 team. The schedule is very serviceable. It's not difficult. They got a couple tough battles on the road, but that's it. I mean, it's a team that should win 10 or 11 games. I'm going to pump the brakes on Klubnik, Heisman, and Clemson to win the whole thing because I'm not insane, but it's a weak conference. They're a good team. Talent-wise, there's nobody better, and I think that they're going to take that next step with Klubnik.
Yeah, I think you're looking at a team that last year, it kind of seems a little foolish to say you really didn't do anything or beat anybody, but you got annihilated by Georgia. You were non-competitive on your home field against Louisville. Lost at South Carolina in a game you probably shouldn't have lost, but then again, they stole a game from Pitt, so they kind of balances out. I know what's up, Will?
They beat SMU to stick it to your boy here, 18-1 to win the ACC.
Yeah. And that was
game with 10 seconds left. They somehow get in a field goal range.
And that was like SMU turning the ball over early in the game, where first like third play of the game, and then they're driving and they turn the ball over. Like that was a massive swing right then and there. And I think you look at the schedule this year, LSU, still South Carolina, but you got to go there. Any mid-level ACC teams like Louisville against Bill O'Brien and Boston College will be better. Like, I don't know. I always get worried about these teams that third or fourth in the nation in turnover margin last year. I get worried about teams like that. I'm on the under 9.5 here with Clemson.
I have no thoughts on Clemson. I think the ACC stinks, and all Dabo does is win every year. I mean, you might not like the way he goes about it at times, but I mean, last year, what they won 10 regular season games. Do I have that right? No, 9. Right? They won 9 regular season games. They won 9 the year before. They won, I think 10. I'm looking at the final record, but I think they won like 10 the year before, and then 10 and 9. I mean, all they do is win a ton of games. So I don't know how you bet the under on Clemson unless you think just this is the year when it all comes crashing down, or the ACC is just so much better this season, Will.
Well, with NIL and the portal taking that next step a few years back, Dabo was very hesitant, to be completely serious. He finally realized, I think somebody got in his ear and said, we need to do what other teams are doing.
Yeah.
Like, you're no longer just getting the best recruits every year. Now, on the defensive line, Bear, they always get those guys that they develop and put in the NFL. But in terms of bringing in offense and developing offense, the guys they were recruiting were not panning out, or they were leaving. So finally, somebody in Clemson realized, hey, we need to play this game too. And I think that was what I was told a couple of weeks ago. Wait till you see these skill players at Clemson. That will be seen either good or bad in a few months, but that's what I'm banking on, that they finally have enough talent on offense to match the talent on defense.
This is like talking about food when you're hungry, because we don't have these games for a while now. I'm getting so excited to think about these games and schedules and futures, but we still got a ways to go here.
Bear Bets full episodes drop twice a week right here on the Bear Bets YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to stay ahead of the odds, and let's celebrate all of our wins together.